All right. So because everybody's laughing and cracking up, that could only be one thing. That's Richard Solomon, My Father's Place Radio, and I'm with a bunch of comedians. I'm like, really, I am. All right, starting from this angle, what's your name, sir?
Hey, Chris Monty.
Okay, you are.
Rich Walker.
All right.
Brooke Turner.
Hey, Brooke.
Eric Haft.
Eric.
Stacy Kendro.
All right, welcome all. And I guess we're doing a little bit of video selfies as we're doing this. All right, so you guys are going to be making great entertainment on television. Is that pretty exciting?
Well, we don't know if it's going to be great yet or not. But
well, what's the hype? What's the hype? Are you underselling so that our expectations are,
Exactly.
There you go.
It's going to be probably spectacular.
Probably.
Yeah.
What's the percentage?
But we are the new sketch group from My Father's Place, and we're going to be little excerpts between experts.
Little who? Excerpts
between the bands. And it's going to be really, really funny sketches, real funny, quick sketches, and we're going to carry
like
you
this one
into
sketch about this radio guy who's so freaking annoying.
Oh, I know those people. They're at my station.
There's only going to be 4 of us.
So what was the comedy that you guys grew up with? Anybody like watching Laugh-In or Carson? Like what were the things that you kind of, like the watering can, so to speak?
My big influence is George Carlin. And from my dad, he liked Rodney, he liked all the old school, but Carlin to me is just like the master.
And he's still timeless to this day.
Oh, yeah. It's still totally relevant. It really is.
Because I've seen YouTube clips of him where he'll say something from long ago, and it'd be like, wow, that's just right on, spot on for today.
Unbelievable, yeah. I think Carlin, who else? Lenny Bruce, going all the way back. But Johnny Carson. Carson's the guy. He's my man.
the best.
My favorite was when he would bomb. He'd go up to the mic and start like banging it and just doing things to just change the rhythm.
Johnny.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny actually had writers write savers for his jokes, right? Like, it purposely would bomb.
It was written to bomb.
It was written.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and then that way he can go pull the cue card out of the guy's hand and go hand it to somebody, and you wouldn't go, "You take that home with you. I'm never doing that again."
But just do the stare into the audience where he fixes his cuffs and just does the old golf swing or whatever when it just bombs. It was set like that. He was the master of it.
Anybody Jackie Gleason fan? I remember
Absolutely, my idol.
Right, because I remember his big thing was you shouldn't rehearse comedy. So
that was his big thing.
Yeah.
But all the other actors in the show hated that.
Right.
But he wanted to be...
Because they were actors.
Not comedians. Comedians,
Hey, what are you talking about?
Oh, sorry, bro. But we're going to try and do that. We're going to try and incorporate exactly what Jackie Gleason. We're going to have the skits kind of written, but then it's going to through improv.
Only Brooke's going to be there for the rehearsal day, and we're just going to show up on shoot day.
Right, you're not going to tell her.
I was told it's a very intense rehearsal. Is it not?
Anybody grow up on Laugh-In or Laugh-In reruns?
Unfortunately, I'm going to show my age, and I did grow up on Laugh-In. I saw Laugh-In. I was only 2.5.
Richie grew up actually on Burns and Allen.
But you can watch Burns and Allen right now at 6 in the morning on Fios TV.
Jack Benny show.
Yeah, I love it. Look,
he was one of my idols.
I love Jack Benny.
Yeah.
And that's where Carson got the look, I think.
The
maybe.
silence.
He would just do a stare.
He was very laid back.
Well, the classic Jack Benny was like, I think this was on the radio, your money or your life. And he's like, well, he goes, I'm thinking. These were like,
the best.
How has comedy changed? It seemed that it was more innocent a long time ago, and now it's a little bit more biting and maybe political.
Can I answer that?
Yeah. He is asking.
Okay, well, here's what how comedy has changed today. Comedy progresses. There would be no, Rowan and Martin's Laughing if it wasn't for Sid Caesar's Show of Shows, and then there would be no Saturday Night Live if it wasn't for Rowan and Martin's Laughing. So it's a progression. But what I found in the stand-up comedy world is that you can't go wrong with self-deprecation. If you're going to make fun of another, if you're Jewish, you can make fun of Jews. If you're Italian, you make fun of Italians. But now it's starting to get into a really different kind of world where it's not okay to make fun of everybody else, but make fun of yourself. Except I would say the Italians and the Irish love it if you make fun of them no matter what.
I do.
Right?
Yeah.
You're Italian?
No, I'm Irish.
Oh, you're Irish.
Yeah.
Ooh. Well, that was a great segue, Brooke.
For Christ's sake.
It's Brooke Turner.
Yeah.
How does sketch comedy differ from stand-up comedy from a creation point of view? In other words, it must be different to write a joke as a stand-up joke as opposed to writing a skit or a sketch.
Okay, so I was just going to say I'm not a stand-up. I am a sketch writer though, but I like that it's more collaborative. We were just kind of riffing off of each other a few minutes ago, and it's nice because you have a team you can kind of rely on, and they've got your back, and it feels good. I think I don't know. Going out by yourself, I feel like is like, I don't want to do that.
And it's like circumstantial sketch. It's like, a guy walks in and he's this character and then that. So it's more like situational, where stand-up is just you're trying to get to a punchline.
You're telling your own stories. But this is
your
almost
own story.
This is almost like we're actually in the joke and acting the joke out. Like we're all getting to play the character instead of Stacy going, so my grandmother came over yesterday and blah blah blah. Now we're all like, Brooke's the grandmother, I'm going to be the uncle. It's almost like it's a collaborative thing, but it's still
bringing the stand-up routine to life, right?
And it's still like writing stand-up. You're still writing a joke. A sketch is a joke. It's just a longer version of a joke.
And funny is funny. It doesn't matter. Like you were asking the progression of comedy. If it's funny, it's got a punchline. It's great, man. It doesn't have to. But with sketch, we have a group of people. We can improvise. We can bring something to life that didn't exist before.
Now, do you guys work as a collaborative? How did you find each other? Like, because
dumb luck.
It was Epi. Epi sort of found us. Didn't he sort of bring us together?
Epi found me. I did their second weekend here, I think, for Barnaby By. It was a group I opened up for them. And he saw me, and then Alex saw me, and then it was like, maybe he would be good to put together this sketch thing, sketch group. And then, but me, Chris, Monty, Stacy, Kendro, and Eric Haft are stand-up comedians, and we've worked together in the past. So we kind of know our chemistry. And then Brooke was actually one of my acting teachers at one point, and for improv.
Weird, yeah.
And then
You did a bad job with him.
He's getting extra credit right now.
yeah. And then Brooke just seemed like the natural best piece to the puzzle, I think, right?
That's nice. We're getting mushy.
Can you take somebody? Can you take somebody to actually teach some comedy, or do you have to sort of have kernels of funniness in you?
Jerry Lewis said it, I think, the best ever. He said, "Lady!" He said, "Hello!" No, I want to tell you. No, he did say that too. But what he said was, anybody can learn to be funny. He said, but it won't be the kind of funny you're talking about. It'll be clinical. The kind of funny you're talking about, he said, it's in your bones.
And like anybody, be taught to tell jokes.
Yeah,
but to be funny is different.
There's something, like everybody here, every comedian, and Brooke too, there's a timing element.
Like there's a difference. Like let's say you have a cousin, and you go, man, this guy, every party, he's the funny. I want to hang out with cousin Louie. He's so funny. He might not be able to be funny on stage. Like we can translate our natural funniness to an audience, and then you see guys like like the typical classic example is when Richie and I used to do prom shows. He goes, there's always one class clown at the prom show, and they want to, and all the other students want to get him up on stage, and Richie would always pull him up. He goes, who's the wise guy? Yeah, come on up here. And he'd get him up there, and he'd bomb, and his friends are looking at him, and Richie's like, sit down, idiot. Not so easy, is it? But it's true.
You're getting rid of one heckler at a time. Yeah. I won't do that in a comedy club.
So, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, but at the same time, I did some clown work, and I feel like everybody is funny. People are funny people. Like, they're not necessarily... You have to have an awareness to be funny on stage to present it, but... I feel like people like to laugh, and people are inherently funny.
Yeah, my brother is funny. I love hanging out with my brother. Me and my brother laugh. We have the best timing between each other. My brother and I can be straight man, funny man. But my brother would never go on stage. Right. He couldn't do it on stage. He's petrified to talk in front. He had to make a speech at a funeral, and he was like, you say the words. He don't want to go up there. So, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's funny, but not everybody's show business funny, stage funny.
Now, did you have funny people in your house growing up? Was there any Who was funny in your house?
My dad was a fan of humor. I don't know how he was kind of funny, but I don't think you have to be around like Jerry Lewis, right? His parents were vaudevillians, right? So he got influenced, but my house wasn't funny.
So would you say that your comedy is rebellious comedy?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, my father was. He did dialects. You know, he could do any dialect. He was just crazy. And my parents let me curse. You know, it was a loose household, so we were kind of allowed to just be who we were.
You must be Jewish.
Yeah, you must be a Jew.
His mother, I know. His father, I never really got to talk to his father humor-wise, but I ran into Eriks Parents once at a breakfast place, you know. And I said to the mother, she goes, so what are you doing today? I said, well, I'm leaving now and I'm going to go to the gym. And she goes, I would hope so.
So that's what you get.
Fast.
So is there anybody funny in your house?
Well, my parents think they're funny. I don't know if that.
Well, what do you think?
Yeah, it's debatable. No, my parents are really funny. They're, but again, it's like unintentionally funny. Like I write sketches based on my parents because I think they're hilarious when they get lost in the train station and they're screaming at each other.
Comedy?
That was my question.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's good. No, no. I need this. Believe me, this is a collaborative effort. You know, no. So I encourage. So if you guys want to ask each other questions, don't hold back. But so
I started as an actor and got into improv from there, and then the improv world is pretty small in New York City, so people start to pull you in for things. And I had a friend that I was improvising with that was like, they're auditioning for sketch house teams, you should audition. And I'd been kind of writing stuff and doing it on my own anyway, so that's kind of how it worked out.
What I did notice is when I started taking acting classes about 8 years ago, they teach acting through improvisation.
Yeah, right. It's a tool. Yeah.
And it's that breaking out of like that shell and being able to do whatever part or whatever character you're portraying.
Yeah, and
listening through and improv and exercises. Being
in the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know David Shepard, but he was one of my clients from way back when. He was in D-Day at the invasion of Normandy. And he was with Second City. No, he was in the real D-Day. He was in the real thing. But he was one of my clients.
Eric may know him.
You know, and he was really this guy. So see, he taught improv. So my brother and I, because he liked us, we would go to these things where we made an improv movie. We did this whole workshop. Each week we actually did a whole thing, and then the movie was like submitted to a film festival a long time ago.
So you feel like war is funny?
No, that was Hogan's Heroes. No, somebody did. So what are the things that you want to bring to My Father's Place television?
Wow, came right to me. Well, we want to bring very fast. This is going to be a very fast-paced show. It's going to have bands, and then we're the comedy in between. It's also going to have stand-up comedy routine. So we're looking to do really fast, new, fresh clips of little
segues,
little vignettes of comedy.
Little vignettes of comedy, but very fast. And we're going to be keeping the pace of this show moving from band to band. It'll like quick comedy right between, boom, next band, and it's going to move.
So what would you say the average length of like your segment would be?
It could be
90 seconds?
It could be anywhere from 20 seconds to 90 seconds. And, and we were just talking about today, maybe even doing like a bit that will be so funny that it'll be carried over into the next scene after the band, or maybe even the following.
It depends on how it's edited. It hasn't come to fruition yet. We're just at the writing stages, so it just like really depends. But it's meant to be like a segue between the music.
Right. Now, is there's I don't really recall anybody ever doing that in the world of music, and as far as television.
It's never been done.
Yeah, so this is kind of new. So
it's similar to like Hee Haw or
right.
You know,
I actually liked Hee Haw.
Yeah, that was music, sketch music.
There's YouTube. YouTube's YouTube takes care of that.
The pacing of Hee Haw is very fast.
That's the style he's going for, but a modern day version of it with not country, with all kinds of music.
Right.
No theme, no specific.
And that's the idea too. Is there are going to be so many genres of music within the same show that you need a segue. You need something to get you from one to the next.
Right.
And make it smooth. So why not do it through laughter?
Kind of like the gopher in Caddyshack. It carried you through to the next scene.
Right. Follow the bouncing ball.
Somebody write go for it.
Well, that wasn't in the original script I heard with Caddyshack. They said that if you watch the movie, if you watch the movie, it's really all over the place. There's no real storyline to it. It's a lot of little vignettes of stories. So they said, how are we going to tie all this together? And I think, was it Harold Ramis was the director or writer?
Yep.
He thought of putting the gopher in, and the audience followed that gopher through the whole golf course.
It was Murray.
Oh my
Bill
God.
Murray's scene,
Yeah.
So, what are your favorite funny movies? Let me like what when you think back of a really funny movie, what's one that comes to mind you really love to watch over and over?
Terms of Endearment. I laugh.
Brian's song.
I know. Yeah, the English
Brooke is
patient.
like, what's Brian's song?
I don't know. What is it?
The story of Brian Piccolo.
A movie that to this day I love, and it's so bizarre, but it's one of my, as a kid, it was one of my favorite movies, and I know he loves it. Richie loves it. Duck Soup.
Ah, the Marx Brothers. Oh,
It's ridiculous, and you just don't. I mean, there's one joke after the next in the whole movie.
Viaduct. Viaduct chicken.
Right. One of my personal favorites was "It's a Mad, 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 Mad
Oh,
World."
absolutely, with Leo Durante and everybody. Everybody was in that.
Which
It's under a big W.
all four big W. That's one of my favorites, and also recent day. I think one of my personal favorites is Bridesmaids.
Bridesmaids is one of
It
the
is
best.
so
Better than The Hangover.
That was
funny.
mine.
Was it? Sorry.
That was my answer.
So what was your number two?
I like the fact that
Oh, Dumb and Dumber's great.
Wedding Crashers was really good.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Crashers. I was watching it before a show once, and I couldn't stop laughing. I had a great show because it just like elevates. But that's, I wouldn't say like a classic. It's just
What was your favorite?
Wedding Crashers.
Oh, that was a good movie.
I was a big Bill. I was a big Bill Murray guy. I was like Bill Murray. I said, Caddyshack. So they go for it.
I was a big fan of Back to School. I love the Triple Lindy.
What about Easy Money?
Oh, that was a good one too. Yeah. But was that
Joe Pesci.
was that the one where they were in the basement eating pizza?
Please let me lick the bride. Let me lick the bride.
Nikki, that's my daughter.
I also really love Forgetting Sarah Marshall. So random, but
Look, we didn't really want you here.
You're not talking
you
random.
guys not seen it? Russell Brand is in it, and it's
Is it really?
I don't know that one either.
She also loved
Sideways.
Arthur with Russell Brand.
Sideways.
You like Sideways, right?
Oh, I love
that movie.
Sideways. That's one of my fictions. That's my best screenplay that year.
3 bottles of wine.
I know.
Sideways.
Sideways. Paul Giamatti.
that's not like ha funny. It's
No,
like,
it's deep.
it's like
fun.
I'm gonna kill myself funny.
It's so funny.
It's great. No, it's such a great movie.
I feel like Joe is funny like a clown.
And those movies are funny too.
Oh yeah, that was a great movie.
So what were your favorite funny shows? Like I was a big fan of Bugs Bunny. I thought one of my favorite scenes of Bugs Bunny when he goes to the law firm and he's looking at the sign for the lawyer and it goes, "A shyster lawyer," and or when my favorite is he dressed up like Groucho and he says it's time to slip out of these wet clothes and into a dry martini. Now, when I was probably 7, it probably went right over my head, but then much later on I said, that is hysterical.
It didn't matter when we were a kid when we watched cartoons. There was a lot of things.
Adult humor that you didn't get.
I don't even remember it going over my head. Like I wasn't a kid going, "Oh, what does that mean?" You went along with it, right?
Okay, it was funny on so many levels, and then as you got older, you appreciated the other levels that you didn't understand when you were younger.
You even mentioned Flintstones. That's really like the cartoon version of the Honeymooners.
The Honeymooners.
Yeah.
Well, the raccoons versus the water buffalo, and
That's right.
yeah.
Exactly.
And so Fred is kind of like Ralph Cramden.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That was my favorite show. To this day, the Honeymooners.
When they did it was the mice as the honeymooners.
Yeah.
They,
Oh, yeah.
I had heard that they said Jackie Gleason laughed like hell watching the mice, and he had no problem with them doing it, like copyright infringements or whatever. He said, "Remember the mice, the black and white Norton?"
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. It's, actually, I was a big fan of Mr. Ed. My grandmother used to say, "How did they make the horse talk?"
Mr. Ed was great.
I guess it depends on what what was on TV at what age. I watched Three's Company. Like I just thought, you know what? And the writing wasn't very good, but John Ritter was just brilliant.
He had great physical comedy.
Exactly.
Nothing like all these great old shows. Brooke, tell them yours.
I was gonna say I Love Lucy.
Oh, I Love Lucy was a classic.
Also the Carol Burnett show.
Do you know that you can watch Cal Burnett right now at 11 o'clock on
I watch
MeTV?
every night, so I watch. My wife's like, "Don't you watch anything that's today?" And I'm like, "No, everything today stinks."
Where do you get that? Where do you get it?
Antenna TV,
Yeah.
Cozy TV, they show all
Me-
those
me-
stuff.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Antenna TV. Oh, it's cable.
No, believe it or not, there's a free channel with a sub channel that you can get
Tell
that.
her, she's the one with no money.
My TV's in the closet. It is.
You know,
It's okay to come out now, though.
Yeah.
Everyone's excited.
TV's in the closet along with my brother.
so has technology helped you or hurt you as comedians? I'll ask why. In some ways, you can find everything, but now in a way, there's comedy channels. There's there's the XM thing has like the raw dog comedy and the regular comedy and the nasty comedy and this. So do you feel like there's too much stuff out there, but it's not necessarily good? It's just there's a lot of it.
I feel like it's accentuated the amount of mediocrity out there. No joke.
Yeah.
You realize it's
look
like
at
a needle. It's a needle in a haystack. You could watch 40 videos in a row, and you're lucky to see one good person, or even see a few minutes of a good person. And I've seen our specials where there's not a lot of it. So I feel like you just have more access to more mediocrity.
More crap.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Even as comedians, we'll sit on the way to a gig in a car and we turn on XM. It lasts maybe 2 minutes before we're like, ugh, I got to turn this off. However, I will say one thing. There is nothing that can substitute for live stand-up comedy. You could hear all you want on XM radio or on television, but coming to a live show to see stand-up comedians, there's nothing like it. It's a whole different atmosphere.
I'll tell you who I saw a long time ago, Buddy Hackett. He was so funny that I remember laughing so hard that I would miss jokes because he was so funny and like you're hysterical, and then he gets another joke in, you don't catch it and then you catch like the third or fourth joke in the row, and then you're laughing, and you're literally laughing your spleen out of you because there was very few people I remember seeing live that was like him. He was funny. He was biting. He was,
Chris worked with Joan Rivers. What was that like?
Oh, what was that like?
She was like, no, because she was fast.
When did you work with her?
3 years. I worked with her every time she was in the Northeast. The 3 years, last 3 years of her life.
Did you really?
I opened for her. Yeah, she was the sweetest person. The opposite from stage. Off stage, just the biggest heart, the nicest person. But on stage, she was a pit bull, man. She was boom, 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 fast, filthy, shocking, everything. But the biggest sweetheart.
But she's like the real deal. She's real old school stand-up comic. She's not a female comic. She's a stand-up comic.
And she's in charge.
I opened for her too a long time
she's
ago.
In charge. You get there early for the sound check, and you got everything. She's in charge of that whole theater. She would have meetings before we started. She'd have the ushers, the popcorn sellers, everybody in that room telling everybody this is how this is going to go tonight. They're going to open the doors, and then boom, boom, boom. The band, me, this. She had everything like she was in charge.
I opened up for Marty Goldblum. He owned a kosher delicatessen. I would open every Tuesday, and I had to close on nights.
I have a question for the ladies here, maybe more so for Stacy, who does stand-up comedy. I noticed in the last few years, women have dropped the word comedian, and now it's just comedian.
And it's actor. She's an actor. She's an actress.
Right. Yeah. So there's no more actress. She's an actress.
I think it depends on the person. I think everybody chooses their own label.
Well, no, if you make it uniform, it's one. That's our job. We're actors. Right. We're comedians. Instead of
it's not like the word stewardess. We're not. It's not that bad. Like if someone called me a comedian, I wouldn't be offended.
You're not.
No.
Right. But you're a flight attendant.
But if they say female comic, I roll my eyes because I'm like, really? Because you see, you wouldn't say it's a man comic.
Right. Well, no, but the point behind that is that funny is funny. But back to funny is funny. It used to be like, people had a hard time. They're like, women aren't as funny as men. That's BS. You know, there are tons of guys.
Like there shouldn't be a label. Woman, the only label that's still used and rightfully is when it's black comic. You want to know? No, I'm just kidding. Come on, you can't go for the funny.
Yeah.
Well, that put a damper on it.
I was trying to wrap this thing up.
So now we're down to 3 of us.
Genesis had an album like that, and then there were 3. That's like after Peter Gabriel quit.
That's funny.
No, but it should be it should be any labels. Actor, flight attendant, whatever you want to be, it should just be that's the job and that's the profession. And I don't label it. I'm having a female comic on the show tonight. Here's the comics names. Boom. And you know.
Yeah. Usually, like when they put me in the paper, it says funniest guy on the bill.
But it says guy.
Rich Walker. Guy. Funniest comedian out there today.
Yeah. No, he writes up the flyer.
They always ask me, what do you want me to say about you? Yeah. So, why not go for it?
That's true.
Right, Rich?
Well, you might as well be your own best audience, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
This interview is like sex. We had the orgasm, and now it's just...
No, wait, now we have to cuddle. We're supposed to... now we're supposed to cuddle. All right, so while we're cuddling, any concluding thoughts or hopes, dreams, comments, accusations?
I have to think about that. I don't know yet.
Come to my father's place. We're going to have a blast here. This new show is going to be hysterical.
Now, are you guys
Make sure you check it out.
Are you guys going to be performing also at my father's place in addition to the television show?
We don't know. I am. I'll be here in February
already, so that's why I'm even here. Because I was doing a show.
Which was the show that you did?
It was just a stand-up show.
Okay.
It was my friend Bob DeBono's show.
Okay, cool. Any last parting thoughts before we wrap this radio podcast up?
Yeah, just to piggyback that. Watch PBS. Watch for my father's place.
We'll edit that out.
That's all right. Well,
It may not be PBS.
Oh, watch
my father's place.
We're in production. We're in production.
Television. For my father's.
Yeah, go right.
Yes. Well, I just want to, I'll close by just saying, it's really. Go ahead, Chris. No, it's a really an honor, to be working with this group of comedians and actors, and I just know we're going to have a blast and a lot of fun, and you don't want to miss it. Like Eric said, tune in, watch the show, My Father's Place, or live at My Father's Place. We don't know the channel yet, but it's soon to be. It's in production, and it's going to be a home run.
And they can go to My Father's Place Radio to find out. I'll leak it out.
And in the meantime, yes, My Father's Place Radio. In the meantime, come to the club and see the shows, and you're going to be quite surprised. It's all original acts and original performers. You won't see any cover bands here. They're all great. But this is going to be a good time.
All righty. Well, myfathersplace.com, My Father's Place Radio, and we'll see you real soon. I look forward to working with you guys. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for having me.